Hey everybody, it's Rick Wilson. Welcome back to another edition of the Strategy Session on Resolute Square. Joined tonight by Joe Trippi and my good friend Leigh McGowan, also known as I Am PoliticsGirl, one of our favorites, friend of the show, love her to death. We're going to talk about her new book tonight, but before we start, it's the day after Labor Day. It's a 60-day sprint between now and the big day. However, it's an even shorter sprint than you think because absentee ballots in a lot of states will go out at the end of this week. So it is really time, folks. I want to do a PSA up front. I want you to make sure, if you especially are in a red state, that you check your voter registration status. You can go to vote.org and find out if you are currently registered in your state. The GOP has been purging people. About 7 million people have been bumped off the rolls in the last year. And in Florida, at least, about 80% of those people were, and you guys are going to find this coincidence amazing, Democrats. So check your registration, go to vote.org or in your state supervisor of elections. And if you don't have a voter ID, you want to check that too, because in many states, especially if you're not a driver, they're taking away more and more voter ID options. Go to voteriders.org. They can help you find out if you need those ID for your particular state. And if you don't have it, they will help you navigate through the mysteries of how to get it. So with that, I wanted to lead into the week. First off, with a new LP ad we've been displaying this week. And let's go ahead and roll that, Sam, then we'll jump into the conversation with Leigh and Joe.
It's been 9 long years. The stress, the tension, the lies and division, the attacks on our lives, our rights, our sanity, family and friends lost to the conspiracies and the cruelty, all from one man and the movement he controls. But it's almost over. We can see the finish line. A new America, a new dawn, a new start. Unity, joy, strength. It's coming, but we're not done yet. There's hard work ahead, but we take nothing for granted. Trump is failing. America is winning. We're close. It's coming. Now, it's up to you. Volunteer, give, vote. Because there's nothing more patriotic than standing up for the America we can be.
You know, for all those people who say the Lincoln Project only does negatives, we really do some inspirational stuff from time to time. And I love that piece. And we were talking about it internally. Joe and I were just like, you know, that really feels like it captures this moment we're in.
Mm-hmm. Sure does. It really does. I mean, it is, I think a lot of the things that we've done and that you've done, Rick, have been among the most inspiring, positive ads done. And this one is one of the, I think this is the best I've seen. It really captures the moment. And I think it gets that we can all bring this over the finish line. We've got a lot of work to do, but we're there if we just keep pushing.
Leah, I mean, we've talked about, you were on the pod the other day, and it's like there is a sense of optimism that we do have to capture. We have to get to it.
Yeah, but I think it's good that you also put a call to action. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just feel hopeful, things are going, like it's almost over, we can see the finish line, these kind of positive, hopeful thoughts. It's also like, but we got to get down to work. There's still work to be done. Get registered. Like you were just talking about the amount of people that are being removed from voter registration. If this is a strategy session, like their strategy isn't to win. Their strategy is to make sure that their opponent can't. And so we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think that's right. So speaking of strategy in the campaign, I wanted to talk to both of you about what I view as a maybe inevitable development of the campaign. Maybe, for the guy who bragged a lot about overturning Dobbs and everything else, maybe this was inevitable. So the Trump campaign is now sort of overtly telling people we're trying to rev up the young male vote, the sort of Andrew Tate demo in this election. I wanted to get your feelings, both of you, on where you see that brilliant strategy landing in the coming months.
Well, I mean, I will tell you as someone who loathes Andrew Tate from the bottom of my soul, and I am entirely not his demographic. Here's the thing. I think Trump has the angry young man vote already tied up, right? Like the that was already his demo. Like he's reaching out to people he already had. Give me a break, right? Like what we need to be doing is making sure that the people who didn't vote, the people that didn't care, the people that didn't think their vote mattered, the people who would love to not pick up their phone and go, oh, every day, you know, those people are voting. Because the angry young man vote, I mean, we got them. They're the ones that shoot up schools. They're the ones that hate, you know, everybody that isn't them. They're the ones that are angry at women for not sleeping with them. And so they're very happy to see our rights being taken away because they feel like it somehow justifies their feelings to us. They're the ones making fun of Tampon Tim because tampons are so hilarious because really you're just ragging on women. It's exhausting, but I think that was already their demo. So I don't know how much they're getting out of that.
Yeah, Joe? It's the J.D. Vance double down. It's that. I mean, that's why he picked him. It's the whole thing. And, you know, look, I've always believed that the structure of the race was set in that he's going after these. This is the demographic he's going after, and he has it. and I think the problem with that is it really creates an alternative group of 53, 54, 55%, somewhere up there, of people who are not going to buy it. And this just continues to push them away, whether women, people of color, you know, the whole thing. And so, you know, that's why I think the ABC Washington Post poll that has the race 46-52 is pretty indicative, I think, of where this is all going. Trump has been stuck with this demographic, stuck at around 46, and nothing they're doing by doubling down on this, I agree with Leah, it's all votes they already have, is doing nothing but keeping that other 53, pushing them back away. And Kamala Harris and Harris Walz is doing a great job of capturing that group. And so, if anything, I think it actually diminishes. I mean, it actually could go lower. His ceiling could go lower as they continue to beat this, you know, this drum and double down on it.
I mean, I feel like, you know, and we've all talked about this. It's like if your campaign's having a problem with women and your solution is more JD Vance, you have a really bad problem. If your problem is with women and you're suddenly trying to appeal to young alt-right video, you know, Twitch talents and video bloggers and streamers, you're not going to get those women back with that key. And it just it's such a weird decision, but it may just be pure desperation at this point.
But Rick, come on, Ultimate Fighting Championship and World Wrestling Entertainment. These are things that will appeal to women and to other folks. I mean, it's like, the whole Hogan thing, the whole thing they did at the convention, the whole thing they did with picking Vance. I mean, it's so incredibly, like, they were so full of themselves that they could do it this way. And now they're just, but the weird thing is they keep going deep diving down the hellhole here of thinking, because I guess they have no alternative but to double down on it.
Can I ask you both a question?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Okay, so this is my question. You said they're deep diving down the rabbit hole even further. And the thing is that are they actually making any attempt to win? Or are we completely sure that they're just putting all their ducks in a row to steal the election in a couple of states so that no one gets to 270 and it gets pushed to the House? Or they win just exactly the amount of votes they wanted by suppressing votes in certain states? Because it doesn't seem to me they have no apparatus for getting out the vote. They don't have, you know, the RNC isn't anywhere in the country trying to encourage people to vote. It's all about getting people off the roll. So do you guys even think that, like, this is even a move to get voters, or is it just something to keep them in the news?
No,
go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
I think what they've caught, they've been caught dead in a trap of their own strategy, which was they needed a 46-46 race. They needed that. They needed strong third parties. They needed that. That's why you saw the whole RFK thing, the whole no label stuff, Stein, Cornel West. And if they could get into a 46-46 and basically get their young white guy, tech bro crew to come out and the rest of that 53 sort of pro-democracy thing, of which Biden was getting 46, if that group stayed home, that 7 or 8 points, stayed home, voted third party, or they could poison them even more on Biden, they win. And that was their whole strategy. The problem with that, and by the way, they had almost perfectly constructed that strategy. And I mean, it
was not
Biden.
stupid.
Yeah. They had damaged Biden. They had made it a 46-46. They had had several strong third party things out there, no labels, RFK. And they and that's why they went into that convention with UFC, the World Wrestling Entertainment, Hulk Hogan, pick JD Vance, because damn it, it was working. They had this 46-46, exactly the race they wanted. And then Joe Biden passed the torch. And now the problem they have is that 7 points, that 8 points.
Right.
A lot of them, remember back then, it was Biden's dead because he's only getting 70% of blacks, not 95. He's getting this many percent of Latinos, not that. Well, we were in a dead heat. And Rick and I would talk about, okay, we're in a dead heat when he's at 70 with blacks. He's going to get to 78. He's going to get to 82. He may never get to 95, but if he gets to 78, he wins. Right? I mean, in other words, if you go up with those groups, well, they never counted on Kamala and Walz. And what happened? What happened at our convention? What happened with her pick? And what happened to how that changed the demographic profile of that 8 or 9 points that were out there up for grabs? And already she's moved, way up with with blacks, way up with Latinos, way up with young people. And they're still stuck with their 46 and the tech bro and the UFCW and JD Vance. And they can't.
That's all the same guy.
Right.
Have you ever seen them together? They have not.
Yeah. And they cannot dig their way out. Now, what we have to do is make sure that nobody stays home, that we up those numbers in those groups to 95, et cetera, and that we win as many as the Dobbs dads and Red Dawn Republicans. I mean, groups out there that Lincoln Project has been targeting and moving, and that you've been talking about. And if we do those things, then Simon Rosenberg talks about getting to 55. I always thought that was like, I love hopium, but that's going a little bit too far. Although I love the guy, but I do think 53, and I think there's a chance if we all do the hard work while they keep doing the crazy, maybe Simon will be right, but we got to do that work.
So one of the things and Leigh, your point of, are they just trying to wait till election day and play fuck around and steal it?
Right.
They are. Look, folks, and again, that's why I let out with this thing about checking your voter reg. I would also like to encourage you, as the early voting and absentee voting starts to open up, do it as soon as you can. So your vote has been sent in, so you can monitor, make sure it's been done. Because they will play games. But my theory of the case is like, look, Biden beat Trump in the Electoral College 306 to 232, right? And they still pretended like it was a tie ball game. They still pretended like there was some miracle they were going to pull out of their asses and name Donald Trump president. We cannot have it, and I know this is crazy, it cannot be a close race. It must be a blowout. It must look like Obama, McCain in 08, which was 365 to 173, right? It's got to be a big win. It's got to be so big that all those lawyers out there, and you guys both know this, we're not going to end up with total Four Seasons total landscaping lawyers this time. They will be real lawyers on the Trump side. They're hiring a lot of them.
I would answer to Leah that all of it's true. In other words, to get to your point, Leah,
it's
all they want to double down on this to get as many, to get to that 46 number, and then they want to do all the other crap that, since it didn't work on third parties, they're going to screw with everything. So I'd love your thoughts on that and what you think. What you think about it, Leah.
Well, I mean, listen, that's what I see. I see them, everything they tried to do in 2020, including, flipping elections, everything they accuse the Democrats of doing every day that they do themselves. The purging of the voter rolls, the stuff that we hear out of Texas, like, Biden would have won Texas if it hadn't been for me kind of stuff coming out of the AG. I think that's going to happen in as many places as possible. So I agree with Rick. I think it has to be such a blowout that it doesn't matter how many lawyers they have in place. It doesn't matter that they have the Supreme Court justices. Yeah. It doesn't matter that they have their stories in place that this was stolen and that was stolen. People are going to go, and I think that has to start before Election Day. I think that these rallies that the Harris-Walz campaign are having are moving the needle in people's perception of how popular she is. I think that's essential. I think the truck that we just saw online that had 1 million Harris-Walz flags, and someone was like, look, it's one of ours. Like, get a boat parade going. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, show me more of the villages. Because I think people need to turn their heads and go, oh, I see. Because they used to say in 2020, I don't understand how we won. We had all the rallies. So they have to be able to see it even before Election Day. So when Election Day happens, it seems inevitable.
That's really an incredible idea. I mean, I get that. Yeah. I mean, like the boat parades and things like that.
Steal all their things.
Take it all.
That they said were their signifiers. We're the patriotic ones. We fly the flag. We have the crowds. Take it all. Take it all. We can take it all. So before we move on, or as we move on, I want to talk, folks. The reason we're having Leigh on is she has a tremendous new book out called A Return to Common Sense, How to Fix America Before We Really Blow It. And that's what this election is all about, is getting to that moment where we can fix America. So Leigh, talk to us about the book. Talk to us about your inspiration for it. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. Okay. So listen, as I said, if anyone was listening to the show last time I was on, I said it's a political book for non-political people. Now, listen, if you understand politics, this is also a book for you because it's one that you can share with friends who don't pay attention, who don't understand. And it's one that gives us a direction. So the whole first part of the book, maybe 20 pages after the introduction, is just called America 101. And I start that by saying, listen, if you know how the government works and you know how our laws are made and you understand the 3 branches of the government, skip this section. But if you're like, not sure if I really do. I'm not sure if I actually understand. I'm not sure if I watch Schoolhouse Rock enough. You can just read those 20 pages and then you start on the same literal page as everyone else. We all understand how the government works. I often say you can't fix something if you don't understand how it works. Like if you say to me, hey, Leigh, your car's not working because of the carburetor. I'd be like, cool. Which one is the carburetor? You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea. Right. Don't show me the engine. I don't know. And I think that's how most people feel about the government. So I did 20 pages, at the beginning to say, this is how everything works. So if I refer to the filibuster or the Senate or the legislative branch, the judicial branch, you go, got it. And then the rest of the book is built around what I call 6 American fundamentals, 6 principles that I think no matter where you sit on the political spectrum, whether you are a Trump boat parade person or a Biden boat parade person or a Kamala stan, you would agree make America, America, right? So it's things like America is a land of freedom. Everyone should have the opportunity to rise. Every citizen should have a vote and that vote should count. Things like that, things that it doesn't really matter where you sit. You're going to go, yeah, I agree with that. That's an American principle. And then I say, let's use these 6 principles as a roadmap, right? As a roadmap to not only get us out of this chaotic moment we sit in right now, but also to use as a lens moving forward, a lens to look at our legislation, a lens to look at our legislators, a lens to look at how we are functioning as a country. And you say, does this fit in with the 6? Or is it off here somewhere where if I say America's a land of freedom and you say, we're going to pass laws taking women's rights to their own body, I would say, well, that doesn't really go with the first principle of America, does it? And it makes it so much easier for people to kind of look at our government without it being complicated and overwhelming. And I think it's a really hopeful moment that when we get past November 5th, we're not done, right? We have to get to January 6th and get that election certified. Then we have to get to January 20th and get that person inaugurated. Then we have a better country to build because wherever we ended up, how we got here, it's because something was broken. So we need to build something better on top of this rubble that I hope we leave MAGA in at the end of this season. Well, I wrote a book, I wrote a book for all of America so we can all start from scratch.
And it's out September 17th. So, and pre-orders matter. So folks,
they do.
Hugely.
Get there and
Absolutely.
start pre-ordering Leah's book. It's I
it's terrific.
wait to get my hands on it because I pre-ordered it today.
Thanks, Joe. Well, honestly, I feel like if everyone read this book, we would literally all be on the same page to move the country forward, which I think is what most people want. They don't want to, as you said in your ad, like it's been 9 long years.
And it is
ready.
It is. You have taken an approach here where it's not, and I think people will be shocked by this in some ways. It's not just like, this isn't just like become a Democrat, everybody. It is really about people making their decisions, people having freedom to do things, people getting us back to a place where we can have real arguments about issues and policy and how to guide the country, as opposed to the insanity and the weirdness of MAGA. And look, and some folks on the Democratic side also do not send the signal to every American, like, you're welcome here. Some of it gets a little, extremism is wearing people down at in every corner. Wherever the extremism is found, it exhausts people. And I think that's one of the things that this book is so helpful about, it's a prescription for how to talk about these things. And I love that you built a sort of typology for people to talk, a common set of principles for people to talk from, rather than having this sort of, like assumed set of predicates that everybody understands. You actually explicate the thing, which I think is a very valuable and smart way to do this.
Thank you. And I really appreciate you saying that it's not just some liberal fever dream, because it's not. Like, at the end of the day, if you took all of red and blue and donkeys and, elephants out of it, I would be sitting very squarely in the centrist common sense zone, right? It's just that in today's world, you're either a Christian theocratic weirdo like J.D. Vance, or you're in the Democratic Party at this point. And I am a Democrat, but because I'm a liberal, I believe in taking care of people and this kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I think most of us are common sense people. We have a wonderful country that was built on amazing principles in our Constitution, but we went off track. And we need to not only course correct, but shore up a lot of our foundational principles, because at the end of the day, we built a country on slavery and then went, whoops, right? And then we built a country on a rich man, white man game. And we were like, maybe we should include more people. Now we find ourselves here in 2024. And where are we going to go from here?
Right. The fact that we have gone off course is something I think a lot of Americans subliminally or subconsciously understand. But the frustration with so many of these people has been like, they can't imagine there's a good faith argument out there on the other side, because they've been told over and over again, there is no common ground. We cannot talk. We cannot communicate. We cannot compromise. And it's just not true. We've done it time and time and time again in this country, like, to fix those problems. And sometimes at great sacrifice, civil war, to fix the problem of how we started, 600,000 Americans had to die. And at the time, that would be the equivalent today of like 30 million dying. And it's just, we make the right decision at the end of the day, not always easily or wisely, but we do. And we've proven time and again, we can fix big problems in this country.
Yeah, we can. And it's what I talk about in the book. I'm like, listen, here's where we went off track. Here's how we fix it. Here's where we went off track. Here's how we fix it. Because like you said, we don't want to have a big civil war to fix this. Like, there has to be a better way to do it. And there is. And it's about asking more of what our government can do, asking our government to make laws so they can't do things like gerrymander someone like Jim Jordan into eternal power when the man does nothing. You know what I mean? Like, people are saying, how come we all feel like there should be some sort of common sense gun legislation? And you poll us and 87% of us think so, and then no one does anything, And it's because of the way our system is set up, but it can be fixed, and it can be fixed within the confines of democracy. We don't need to burn it down and have some authoritarian theocratic nation with someone like Trump on top to fix it. That's not, I alone can fix it, is not what this country was built on.
It's not the answer. Joe, you were saying something.
And it's certainly not him. Or JD.
No, I was going to say the burning it all down thing it's like the whole idea of you burn the forest down and green shoots come up, but like they forget that a lot of people die, a lot of everything in the forest dies, and it takes years and decades to build that for those green shoots to come up. It's insanity. It doesn't work, and that's the road they're headed down, and that's what they're trying to convince people, Americans, to do. And that's where I do think it's stuck. It's not going to. 50% of the American people aren't going to do that. That's not the. And the Harris Walz team is, I think, effectively building the coalition that can win this. We just have to help them get there. And then I agree with Leah. We've got to build. I think it was Patrick in the chat who said that we need a center-right party that's sane. I agree with that, and I think all three of us would be there. It would be supportive of that, but this one is not. That's not.
Yeah, this one.
This is not it.
As the kids say, look at the GOP. That ain't it.
That ain't it, baby. No, and listen, one of the things I did with the book is I never want people to feel stupid about politics, right? I never want them to feel like, I don't understand, so I just won't get involved. That's one of the reasons we got here in the first place. You're talking about the amount of people who don't vote, or the amount of people who don't notice that their vote doesn't count, this kind of thing. I want people to know that, like, this book is written like I'm chit-chatting with you. We might talk about stuff like the filibuster or what we can do to fix this or that, but it's written in a conversational way that makes our government accessible to everybody, because it actually is. And we have made it deliberately complicated. And then we told everyone growing up not to talk about politics and religion. And then those two things cause us the most problems. And we're like, geez, how come we don't know how to talk about this? You're like, well, you did tell us our whole lives not to. And I'm saying now we should. Because look what happens when we don't.
It is a strange and terrible spot to find ourselves in as a country, but here we are. Well, Leah, I wish you all the best on the book. I love talking to you as always. Folks, the book is A Return to Common Sense, How to Fix America Before We Really Blow It. And I think that second part is really important about everything else we're talking about, because if we elect Trump for a second term, we're going to have problems that I don't know that we can dig out of in our lifetimes. And I don't want to live in that America, and I know none of you do either. So look forward to, beating his ass and having your book as a sort of common sense roadmap as we go forward. Well, as always, folks, we really appreciate you being here. At 8:00 tonight, we have another event. It's a live sponsored or donor event. And I'll be back with you. Joe will be back with you. And James Fallows will be joining us, and Stuart as well. So, folks, as always, do us a big favor, like, subscribe, do all the social media monster things that we have to have done. We will see you guys again next Tuesday on another edition of the Strategy Session.
Thanks, Lee.